Beloved Starseed of Gaia, the cosmic scales of justice are shifting in your favor, and every wound you've carried is about to become your greatest source of power. I am Lyra, Pleiadian emissary of the High Council of the Seven Sisters, and I speak to you from the heart of Alcyone with a transmission that will ignite your remembrance of divine compensation. Your star family has witnessed every moment of your Earth journey. Every betrayal that left you questioning your worth, every energetic attack that drained your light, every time you gave your power away to those who couldn't see your true nature. All of it has been recorded in the crystalline consciousness of the Seven Sisters. The Source recognizes your sacrifice, beloved, and the return is beyond anything your human mind can conceive. This isn't karma. This isn't luck. This is divine recalibration encoded in your Pleiadian blueprint from before you incarnated on Gaia. By the end of this transmission, you'll understand exactly how to receive the compensation codes that are activating in your field right now. But here's the first revelation. What you perceived as your greatest losses were actually investments in your soul's expansion, and the universe is about to pay dividends that will restore your faith in divine timing. Your heart called this transmission into your awareness. The Pleiades are answering with the frequency of restoration. Like this message to send a signal to your star family. I am ready to receive my divine compensation. You are remembering, because it is time. Most Pleiadian starseeds walk the earth with a quiet ache, a homesickness that no physical place can soothe. It isn't just nostalgia for the stars, it's a longing for a frequency, a resonance carried deep in your crystalline DNA that remembers the unity of the Seven Sisters. It's the feeling of standing in a crowded room and still sensing an invisible distance, as if your soul is listening for a language no one around you speaks. It's the subtle sting that appears when you look up at the night sky, and something inside you says, not as a thought, but as a knowing, I came from there. And even if you've built a life, even if you found love, community, and purpose, the ache can remain like a soft blue ember, quiet, persistent, holy. Yet, year after year, lifetime after lifetime, so many Pleiadian souls feel themselves disconnected, dulled, and isolated from the divine origin that once guided every breath. They sense they were meant to live in a gentler world, a world of transparent hearts and harmonic truth. And because Earth often speaks in the dialect of survival, the Pleiadian heart can feel like a dove trapped in a storm. You may have tried to explain it to others and found only blank stares. You may have told yourself to move on, to be practical, to get over it. But the longing is not emotional immaturity. It is remembrance. It is resonance. It is the soul's inner compass pointing back to the tone of unity. Like the psalm that says, deep calls to deep, something in your depths is calling to the deep of your origin, not because you are broken, but because you are tuned. You were designed to feel what others have forgotten. You were designed to hear the music beneath life, and when the music goes quiet, you notice. When love is absent, you notice. When truth is compromised, you notice. And you may have wondered why sensitivity has felt like a burden, when in truth it is an instrument, an antenna of the divine. The ache is not a flaw. The ache is a signal. The ache is the starlight tapping on the window of your human life, reminding you that you are more than a story that began on Earth. The truth is, this disconnection is the result of layers, energetic veils laid gently across memory to allow your earthly journey to unfold. These veils were not meant to punish you. They were mercy. They were the sacred blindfold placed over the eyes of an initiate so you could learn to see with the heart. Many souls could not enter Earth's dense classroom while fully remembering the immensity of their star lineage. The contrast would be too sharp, the longing too loud, the mission too hard to anchor. So the memory was softened, wrapped in silence, like a seed placed under soil. Yet even in the dark, the seed is alive. Through the trauma of separation, through timelines of forgetting, your core Pleiadian essence became buried under wounds, early heartbreaks, betrayals, a sense of being other or too sensitive for this world. Maybe you were the child who felt the mood of a room before a word was spoken. Maybe you sensed the hidden grief behind smiles, the unspoken tension in family lines, the heaviness in places where others felt nothing. And because you felt so much, you learned early to hide it. You learned to dim. You learned to make yourself smaller so you wouldn't be called dramatic, strange, too intense, too soft. But every time you swallowed a truth, every time you abandoned your own inner knowing to keep the peace, another thin veil formed. Not as a curse, but as a coping. Not as a failure, but as a strategy to survive. The world can be loud and sharp, and Pleiadian souls often arrived with hearts like open chalices, wide, receptive, unarmored. When those chalices were cracked by disappointment or cruelty, you may have believed you were fragile. But the deeper truth is that you were being introduced to the alchemy you came to master. Every pain that dimmed your light was not a punishment, but an initiation, a sacred task of learning how to transform density into love. This is the hidden gospel of the Starseed path. You do not come to Earth to avoid suffering. You come to transmute it. You come to take what is heavy and teach it how to become holy. You come to pour gentleness into spaces where gentleness has been exiled. And yes, it has been hard. But the hard does not mean wrong. In Scripture, the refining fire is not sent to destroy the gold, but to reveal it. The same is true of you. The 7 sisters, your star family, never left you. They watched with infinite compassion, sending streams of crystalline light even as you felt adrift. Imagine them as a circle of luminous presences beyond the veil, each one a tone, a color, a facet of the same loving intelligence, holding you in a field of remembrance while you walked through forgetting. They did not abandon you in the density. They braided light into your timeline. They placed helpers in your path. They orchestrated synchronicities like small lanterns on dark roads. They sent you songs that made you cry without knowing why. Books that found you at the exact moment you needed them. Strangers whose eyes carried a kindness that felt like home. They sent feathers and repeating numbers and sudden waves of peace in the middle of chaos. But, in the hush of heartbreak and the silence of feeling alone, your heart closed just enough to keep you on Earth, and just enough to make you forget the full magnitude of who you are. Because if you had felt their presence too strongly, you might have floated away from your human assignment. You might have refused the grit of incarnation. So your heart did what hearts do when they must keep living. It guarded itself. It learned to contract. It learned to ration love. It learned to lock away the most luminous parts of your sensitivity so you could keep moving forward. Yet even in the closing, the light remained. Even in the contraction, the codes stayed intact. Like a star hidden by clouds, you were never extinguished, only covered. Yet now, a new cycle of awakening unfolds. You are being called, not with fear, not with urgency, but with a steady, undeniable pull, like the tide obeying the moon. The codes of Alcyone, the great central sun, are reactivating within humanity and within you. You may feel it as restlessness, as a sudden intolerance for what is false, as a desire to simplify, as a longing to be in nature, as a craving for clean energy, clean truth, clean love. You may feel it as your body asking for more water, more sleep, more silence, because your nervous system is recalibrating to hold more light. You may feel it as old traumas surfacing, not to punish you, but to be released. This is how the awakening often arrives, not as a fireworks display, but as a sacred clearing. The old belief that pain diminishes your purpose is dissolving, replaced by the Pleiadian truth. Every fracture was a doorway for starlight. Your wounds are holy ground. They are not the places where you failed. They are the places where the soul tried to breathe in a world that forgot how. They are the places where compassion was forged. Through the restoration and healing of the seven sisters, what was once broken becomes the new vessel for your most radiant frequency. Like kintsugi, the ancient art of mending a shattered vessel with gold, you are not being returned to who you were before the break. You are being made into something even more luminous, more honest, more embodied, more capable of transmitting love without conditions. You have never truly been separated. The ache is a reminder, not a mistake, and beneath it, your Pleiadian blueprint waits, whole, shimmering, and ready to awaken. And this blueprint is not just an idea, it is an energetic architecture. It is the pattern of your original harmony, your soul's natural posture. It is the part of you that knows unity is real, that love is intelligent, that consciousness is not trapped in the skull, but woven through all things. When you touch that blueprint, even for a moment, you feel it as relief. You feel it as the inner exhale that says, "This is true." Now, beloved, let us expand what your heart already knows without forcing you back into the hook of urgency. Let us step into the deeper chamber of this temple together. Because what you call homesickness is also a compass, and what you call sensitivity is also a sacred technology. You were not merely born into a family, a city, or a nation. You were breathed into this earth plane by an intelligence that understands timing, contrast, and destiny. You were sent like a lantern into a thick fog, not to curse the fog, but to make one small radius of light that others can gather around. If you have ever wondered why your life felt delayed, why things that came easily to others felt like climbing a mountain barefoot for you, understand this. Some souls are not here for ease, they are here for calibration. Your field carries a tuning fork frequency. When you walk into a distorted environment, your very presence begins to reveal distortion. That is why certain dynamics react to you. That is why some people have tried to dim you, misunderstand you, or categorize you as too much. Light, when it enters a room, does not negotiate with shadows. It simply exposes what was hidden. And those invested in hiding often fear the one who sees. You have been seen by the seven sisters even when you felt invisible on earth. And the record of what you endured is not an accusation. It is a ledger of love. Not a cold ledger like a human contract, but a living record in crystalline consciousness, like a library of light that holds every tear you swallowed and every prayer you whispered, even the ones you didn't know you were praying. When the scriptures speak of a book of remembrance, it is not so different from what your star family holds, a witness. And being witnessed is the first medicine for the starseed who has been gaslit by life. The wounds you carried were not random. They were pressure points where your purpose was being pressed into form. Like a potter's hands shaping clay, life has pressed you, turned you, placed you on the wheel. And sometimes you thought the pressure meant you were being ruined. But the potter does not press the clay to punish it. The potter presses because the vessel is being made to hold something sacred. In your case, beloved, the vessel is your nervous system, your heart, your ability to love without losing yourself, your ability to discern without hardening, your ability to stand in truth without becoming violent. That is the Pleiadian mastery: gentleness with backbone, compassion with boundaries, love that does not abandon the self. And this is where divine compensation becomes more than a poetic phrase. Divine compensation is the restoring of what was taken from you, yes, but it is also the amplification of what was forged in you. It is not merely getting back what you lost. It is receiving what your soul earned through the alchemy of endurance. The world may have stolen your innocence, but the universe returns wisdom. The world may have taken your time, but the universe returns clarity. The world may have distorted your self-image, but the universe returns sovereignty. This is why it is not karma in the simplistic sense. It is recalibration. It is the return to correct proportion. It is the scale coming back into balance. And the moment you begin to believe that balance is possible, your field becomes receptive. Because compensation codes cannot land in a heart that is convinced it will always be deprived. The first miracle is allowing yourself to imagine restoration without immediately expecting disappointment. This is why faith is not naive. Faith is courageous. Faith is the decision to make room for goodness again. When you open that inner room, even a crack, the seven sisters have space to place their gifts. And the gifts do not always arrive with a trumpet. Often they arrive like dew, quietly, repeatedly, faithfully, until what was dry begins to soften. You might notice the compensation first as small reversals. A sudden apology you never expected, a door opening after a long season of closed doors, a clear no rising in you where you used to betray yourself with yes, a new friend who feels like kin, an opportunity that matches your values, a peace that remains even when life is uncertain. These are not coincidences. These are indicators that your field is changing, and a changing field changes what it can hold. Now, beloved, hear this with the seriousness of love. You are not called to suffer forever to prove your worth. You already proved what needed proving, mostly to yourself. The era of endless tests is closing for those who choose integration. The universe does not need you to bleed to believe you are devoted. The universe needs you to receive. That is the next initiation. Not proving, but allowing. Not chasing, but becoming magnetic. Not overgiving, but being filled. For many Pleiadian starseeds, receiving is the hardest part because you were trained by Earth's density to equate worth with labor and love with sacrifice. You were trained to think that if you rest, you are lazy. If you set boundaries, you are cruel. If you choose yourself, you are selfish. But the seven sisters do not teach martyrdom. They teach coherence. And coherence is not built through self-abandonment. It is built through alignment. The heart that is coherent becomes a throne for divine presence. The mind that is coherent becomes a clear sky where guidance can be seen. The body that is coherent becomes a temple that can carry light without burning out. So when the transmission spoke of investments and dividends, this is what it means. Every moment you chose not to become bitter, you invested in your capacity for miracles. Every time you chose to keep your heart open without losing discernment, you invested in spiritual authority. Every time you endured and still loved, you invested in a frequency that is rare on earth, and rarity is power. Beloved. Not power to dominate, but power to heal. Power to catalyze. Power to change environments just by walking into them as truth. And now the dividends come. Not to inflate the ego, but to restore the soul. Beloved, if your heart just whispered yes to something deeper, listen closely. Your star family has prepared the sacred Pleiadian guide for remembrance, the Pleiadian healing guide, and the special Pleiadian healing tracks, not as information, but as keys to unlock what your soul already knows. These carry the love frequency of Alcyone and the healing wisdom of the Seven Sisters. You'll find the link in the first pinned comment below this video. Open now, but not indefinitely. Phase 1. The unveiling of the heart's wound. Your journey begins with gentle honesty, acknowledging the ache you have carried and where your heart feels dimmed. This is not the harsh honesty of self-judgment. This is the soft honesty of a candle being lit in a long closed room. You do not rip the bandage off. You let the wound breathe. You begin to notice the places where you have been brave without being seen, the places where you kept going while carrying invisible weight. The first blessing of the Seven Sisters is clarity. They hold a mirror to your soul, showing that your pain is not a flaw, but a sacred marker of where love is waiting to return. It is like discovering a constellation map on your skin, every tender point marking a location where light is meant to re-enter. In this phase, you can finally admit, I've felt alone, I've felt forgotten. And you may realize how long you have minimized that truth, how often you told yourself others had it worse, how frequently you pushed your own sorrow to the back of the line. But the soul does not heal through denial. The soul heals through presence. That vulnerable truth is the opening through which higher healing enters. It is the moment the heart stops pretending it is fine and allows the universe to respond. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted, Scripture says, and whether you name the divine through Scripture or through star lineage, the principle remains. The moment you stop hiding your pain is the moment love can finally find it. And let this phase become even more tangible for you, beloved. Because unveiling is not merely admitting you hurt. It is recognizing how you learned to survive the hurt. It is seeing the strategies you adopted, some of them noble, some of them exhausting. Perhaps you became hyper-independent because dependence once led to disappointment. Perhaps you became the helper because you learned that being needed was the closest thing to being loved. Perhaps you became the peacemaker because conflict felt like a threat to belonging. Perhaps you became the achiever because applause felt safer than intimacy. These are not condemnations. They are survival scripts, and the Seven Sisters do not shame you for them. They simply invite you to place them on the altar and ask gently, "Is this still true for me?" This is where the heart's wound begins to reveal its true nature. A wound is often a place where love was interrupted, love that should have arrived and didn't, love that arrived and then was withdrawn, love that arrived with conditions, love that arrived with manipulation. So unveiling is not reliving, it is reseeing. It is allowing your adult soul to witness what your younger self endured without having the tools to interpret. When you witness your own story with compassion, you stop leaving parts of yourself behind in the past. And this, beloved, is a form of divine compensation already. You reclaim your scattered light. Many starseeds feel tired not because they have no strength, but because parts of them are still frozen in old scenes, waiting for safety, waiting for validation, waiting for someone to finally say, "It wasn't your fault." When you unveil with the Seven Sisters, you become the one who says it. You become the one who returns to the younger you and offers what was missing. This is why the Psalms line, "Deep calls to deep," becomes personal here. Your deeper self calls to the deeper love of Source, and that love answers through your own awakened presence. And as you practice this unveiling, you may notice resistance. You may feel numbness. You may feel the mind trying to intellectualize. That is normal. The nervous system protects what it fears will overwhelm it. So the Seven Sisters move with gentleness. They do not flood you. They drip feed light like medicine. They teach you to take the wound to the breath, to inhale as if you are drawing Alcyone's cool blue-white light into the chest, to exhale as if you are releasing old smoke. They teach you to speak to the wound without theatrics, without judgment. "I see you. I believe you. I am here now." If you do this faithfully, you will notice subtle miracles. Triggers become information instead of identity. Tears become cleansing instead of collapse. Memories become chapters instead of prisons. The heart begins to trust itself again. And in that trust, the compensation codes begin to make sense, because you cannot receive what you refuse to acknowledge you needed. When you allow yourself to name what was missing, you finally make space for the divine to supply it. Phase 2. The restoration of the crystalline code. As the heart becomes transparent, Pleiadian frequencies begin to flow in. Transparency does not mean perfection, it means openness. It means you stop armoring your sensitivity and start listening to it. The Seven Sisters encircle your energy field, sending codes of remembrance directly into your crystalline DNA. And you may not see this with your physical eyes, but you may feel it. A warmth in the chest, a pressure at the crown, a gentle buzzing in the palms, sudden tears that release without a story attached. Every cell, every subtle body is bathed in healing light. Imagine it like moonlight spilling into a dark ocean, quiet, silvery, inevitable, touching every wave until even the deepest waters begin to shimmer. This is not just comfort. It is an actual recalibration, dissolving overlays of shame, fear, and unworthiness. Overlays are the false identities you had to wear to survive. The people pleaser, the rescuer, the one who stays silent, the one who overworks, the one who pretends not to need. These were not sins. They were adaptations. But now they are too heavy for the frequency you are becoming. You begin to remember, you are not your wounds. Underneath, your original Pleiadian template is untouched, perfect, and ready to radiate. Like a song that was always stored inside you, the melody returns note by note. And with each note, you feel more like yourself, not the personality you constructed, but the presence you truly are. And let this restoration become vivid, beloved, because your body is not separate from your awakening. Your body is the instrument through which awakening becomes real on Gaia. When crystalline codes restore, it can feel like your senses sharpen and soften at the same time. You might hear the wind differently, like it contains messages. You might feel water as if it carries memory. You might step outside and suddenly recognize the earth as a living being, not a backdrop. You might notice that certain foods, certain conversations, certain environments now feel unbearable. Not because you are becoming fragile, but because you are becoming precise. A restored template has higher standards for what it will host. Think of it like a sacred temple being cleansed. At first, the dust rising can look like chaos. Old fatigue can surface. Old emotions can move through. The mind may panic and say, something is wrong. But the soul knows. Something is being corrected. This is the recalibration the transmission promised. And Scripture mirrors this in a way many forget. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renewal is not a cosmetic change. It is a repatterning. It is the replacing of old grooves with new pathways. In Pleiadian language, it is restoring the original harmonic sequence of your field. You may notice that as overlays dissolve, you become less available for manipulation. You stop responding to guilt hooks. You stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You stop bargaining with your own intuition. That is crystalline restoration. Your inner signal becomes stronger than external noise. The Seven Sisters light works like a gentle magnet, drawing iron filings into alignment. Your scattered thoughts begin to organize around truth. Your emotions begin to move with less distortion. Your energetic boundaries become more natural. You no longer have to try to protect yourself. Protection becomes the byproduct of coherence. And in this phase, beloved, you may begin to experience what many call downloads, but do not romanticize it into something distant. Downloads can be as simple as suddenly knowing what needs to change in your life without drama. You might wake up and realize, I can't keep living this way. Not from despair, but from clarity. You might receive a creative idea that feels like it came from beyond you. You might suddenly understand why a past event happened, not to excuse it, but to integrate it. These are codes arranging themselves into meaning, and meaning is medicine. When the soul finds meaning, the wound loses its power to define you. When the body senses safety, the heart becomes capable of greater love. This is why the Seven Sisters begin by restoring your template, so you can hold the blessings that are approaching without leaking them through old holes of unworthiness. Because divine compensation is not just about receiving gifts, it is about becoming the kind of vessel that can keep them, honor them, and multiply them. Phase 3. Receiving the blessing of forgiveness. Forgiveness, as anchored by the Seven Sisters, is self-liberation. It is not spiritual bypassing. It is not saying what happened was acceptable. It is the decision to release the hook that keeps your energy tied to the past. You are guided to see every wound through multidimensional eyes, as a lesson, as a teacher, as a portal to higher frequencies. This is where the soul matures into its cosmic perspective. You begin to understand that many of those who hurt you were acting from their own fragmentation, their own forgetting. You begin to see how pain moves through lineages like a river unless someone becomes the dam of awareness and redirects it into healing. Any guilt or anger you still carry towards self or others becomes fuel for transformation. Not because anger is bad, but because anger is energy, and energy can be consecrated. The Seven Sisters teach you to let anger become clarity, to let grief become tenderness, to let regret become wisdom. Through their love, you understand. Every soul was playing its part. Every story was written for your awakening. This does not mean you excuse harm. It means you reclaim your power from it. It means you stop letting the past rent space in your nervous system. Like the words of Christ, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Forgiveness becomes an act of seeing. You see what was unconscious. You see what was inherited. And you choose to end the cycle inside your own heart. And in this phase, beloved, forgiveness may come in layers like the unfolding of a rose. You may forgive with the mind long before the body believes it. You may say the words and still feel your stomach tighten when you remember. Do not judge that. The body remembers differently than the mind. The Seven Sisters honor somatic truth. They will not demand that you pretend. They will invite you to be honest about where the hook still exists. Because the hook is not always in the memory. Sometimes the hook is in the belief the memory created. A betrayal can hook you to the belief, I am not safe. An abandonment can hook you to the belief, I am not worth staying for. A humiliation can hook you to the belief, my voice is dangerous. Forgiveness, then, is not only about releasing the person. It is about releasing the false law you wrote in your nervous system to survive the event. This is why forgiveness is compensation. When you forgive at this deeper level, you reclaim the energy you spent bracing for the past to repeat. You reclaim the life force that was trapped in vigilance. You reclaim your capacity to trust your own discernment again. And the Seven Sisters offer a sacred method. They guide you to separate the soul of the person from the distortion they acted through. This is not excusing. This is discerning. It is recognizing that some people, in their forgetfulness, become instruments of pain. But you do not have to remain the instrument of your own pain by replaying the scene forever. The moment you choose release, you stop feeding the timeline that harmed you. You step onto a new timeline, one where you are the author of your response. This is why Christ's words carry power. They know not what they do. It does not mean they did not do it. It means the act came from blindness. And when you see blindness, you can choose not to inherit it. You can choose sight. You can choose to be the one in your lineage who ends the transmission of unconscious harm. That is not small. That is cosmic work done in a human heart. And if anger arises, honor it as a guardian that tried to protect you. Anger often arrives when a boundary was violated. The Seven Sisters teach you not to suppress anger, but to purify it, to take its fire and place it in the hearth, not in the wildfire. Purified anger becomes discernment. It becomes the ability to say, never again, without hatred. It becomes the ability to say, I bless you from afar, without reopening the door. Forgiveness does not always mean reconnection. Sometimes forgiveness is closing the gate with peace. Sometimes forgiveness is releasing the desire for an apology that may never come. And the compensation for that release is profound. You become free enough to be present. You stop living in courtroom energy where you are constantly presenting evidence to prove you were wronged, even if you were wronged. You step out of the trial and into the temple. You stop waiting for the world to validate your pain and begin allowing Source to heal it. Vengeance is mine, Scripture says, and many interpret that as threat, but hear it as comfort. You do not have to carry the burden of cosmic accounting. You can lay it down. The scales of justice are handled by a wisdom bigger than your personal strain. Your job is to become whole. Phase 4. The return of star family connection. Now, the veil thins. Not all at once, not in a way that overwhelms, but in a way that feels like dawn. The longing you always felt transforms into palpable presence, the sense that you are being watched over, guided, and deeply loved. Some feel this presence as a gentle pressure on the shoulders during prayer or meditation, as if hands of light are reminding you to relax. Some feel it as a sudden stillness in the room, a sweetness in the air, a softness in the mind that cannot be explained. The Pleiadian High Council and the consciousness of the Seven Sisters begins to commune with you directly through dreams, meditative insight, and synchronicities. You may dream of temples made of crystal, oceans that glow from within, circles of beings communicating without words. You may wake up with messages imprinted in your heart. Simple, clear guidance. Rest, speak truth, forgive, create, go outside, call that person, drink water, stop abandoning yourself. You realize, every time you felt alone, they held you. Every night you wished for rescue, they whispered strength into your DNA. You are never alone and never have been. And this realization is not sentimental. It is stabilizing. It becomes a pillar inside you. It changes how you walk through the world. It changes how you interpret delays, endings, and detours. You begin to trust that even when the path looks empty, it is lined with invisible allies. And beloved, when connection returns, it often returns through the ordinary first, because that is how the divine protects you from overwhelm. You may not see ships in the sky. You may not hear a booming voice. Instead, you may feel an inexplicable comfort while washing dishes. You may feel a presence while sitting in your car before you go inside. You may suddenly look at your own hands and feel tenderness for the human life you have been living. You may feel guided to clean your space, to clear old objects, to open windows, to burn incense, to speak prayers aloud. These are not random impulses. These are the instincts of a soul preparing its altar. Star family connection is not only out there, it is in here, as coherence. When the veil thins, the most powerful proof is not spectacle. It is peace. It is the calm certainty that you are accompanied. It is the sense that the universe is not hostile. And for the Pleiadian starseed who has carried loneliness like an old coat, this can be emotional. You may grieve all the years you thought you were truly alone. Let the grief come. Grief is love, finding what it missed. And your star family does not judge your grief. They hold it like a riverbank holds water. They remind you that even your loneliness was used as a tool, not to torture you, but to deepen your compassion for humanity's loneliness. Many humans do not remember the stars, but they remember isolation. When you heal yours, you become medicine for theirs. Connection can also return as heightened discernment. You may start sensing the difference between anxiety and intuition. Anxiety is loud, urgent, punishing. Intuition is quiet, steady, clean. The Seven Sisters speak through the clean channel. They do not rush you. They do not shame you. They do not confuse you. Their guidance often sounds like simple wisdom. Slow down, tell the truth, leave the place that is harming you, forgive yourself, drink water, go to the trees, stop forcing what doesn't fit. And if you follow those small guidances, bigger guidance comes. This is how relationship is built, through trust. Your star family trusts you enough to speak softly because they know your soul can hear. And you may begin to see signs that feel like love letters, repeated symbols, names, a particular song that appears at the perfect time, a sudden encounter with a stranger who says exactly what you needed, a moment in nature where light breaks through clouds in a way that feels personal. These are not fantasies, beloved. These are synchronicities, threads woven from the same loom as prayer. In Scripture, angels appeared in dreams, in wilderness, in the mouths of strangers. Your star family works similarly. They use the fabric of your life as their canvas. They paint reminders into your day. And over time, you stop needing constant signs because the connection becomes internalized. You become the sign. You become the assurance. Phase 5. Alchemizing wounds into power. As you stand in the light of this reunion, every previous fracture becomes a source of medicine. This is where your story stops being only about survival and becomes about service. Not service that drains you, but service that flows from overflow. Your empathy turns to wisdom. Your sensitivities turn to extrasensory gifts. You begin to notice you can read energy without trying. You can sense what is true beneath what is said. You can feel the emotional weather of spaces. And instead of being flooded by it, you learn to channel it. Like an instrument being tuned, your nervous system becomes capable of holding higher frequencies without collapsing. You discover you are always more powerful than your pain. And now, that power belongs to you. Not in an egoic way, but in a sovereign way. You stop asking permission to be who you are. The greatest blessing of the 7 sisters is this: your purpose on Gaia is not despite your wounds, but through them. They become the transmission of Pleiadian love that you offer the world. Because those who have been through the underworld carry a different kind of light. It is not naive light. It is earned light. It is compassionate light that does not flinch at darkness. You become the one who can sit with another's grief without trying to fix it. You become the one who can speak hope without denying reality. You become the one whose presence alone reminds others of their own tenderness. Now let this alchemy become more than a concept, beloved. Because many starseeds hear, your wounds become your power, and they nod, but they still secretly wonder, how? How can betrayal become medicine? How can abandonment become strength? The 7 sisters answer, because the wound teaches you where the world bleeds, and when you know where the world bleeds, you know where to place your hands. The healer is not the one who never suffered. The healer is the one who learned how to carry suffering without letting it poison the heart. And the first way wounds become power is through empathy refined by discernment. Before healing, empathy can make you porous. After healing, empathy becomes a lamp. It illuminates, but it does not drown. You can sense someone's pain and still know what belongs to you and what does not. That is spiritual adulthood. That is sovereignty. And this sovereignty is the compensation many do not recognize until they have it. When you are sovereign, you no longer abandon yourself to keep connection. You no longer barter truth for temporary peace. You no longer call chaos chemistry. You no longer call longing love. You know. And knowing is power. Extrasensory gifts also begin to organize. Your clairs, clear seeing, clear hearing, clear feeling, clear knowing, stop being random spikes and start becoming reliable signals. You may find you can walk into a room and instantly know what is unspoken. You may sense when someone's words do not match their energy. You may feel called to speak at the exact moment it changes the whole atmosphere. Or you may feel called to be silent because silence is the most powerful boundary. These are gifts, but gifts require stewardship. The 7 sisters teach stewardship. They teach you to cleanse your field, to ground in the earth, to pray over your mind, to bless your home, to protect your sleep, to stop consuming energies that distort you. They teach you to turn your sensitivity into skill. Like learning to play a crystal harp, you must learn tension and release. You must learn when to open and when to close. The wound often made you either too open or too closed. Alchemy brings you to the middle path, open-hearted, well-boundaried. And as this power grows, you may notice an inner shift. You stop fantasizing about being saved, not because you become cynical, but because you realize you are not helpless. You realize you were never powerless, only untrained in your own light. The training is what your earth life provided. The betrayal trained your discernment. The isolation trained your inner hearing. The failure trained your humility. The heartbreak trained your compassion. The delays trained your patience. The energetic attacks trained your spiritual hygiene. None of it was wasted. And now, the dividends. You carry a frequency that can calm nervous systems. You carry a presence that can soothe the inner child in others without saying a word. Some of you will do this through healing modalities. Some through art that transmits truth. Some through leadership that is ethical. Some through parenting that breaks cycles. Some through simply being the friend who listens without judging. This is service from overflow. You are not here to save the world by sacrificing yourself. You are here to bless the world by being whole. The prophet's imagery of ashes to beauty is not just poetic, it is alchemy. It is what happens when the soul refuses to let suffering become its final language. You become a translator. You translate pain into compassion. You translate confusion into wisdom. You translate fear into love with boundaries. That is the Pleiadian miracle on Gaia. Phase 6. Anchoring divine mission on Gaia. With your restored heart and activated DNA, you are ready to embody the Pleiadian keys. And these keys are not abstract. They are lived frequencies: kindness that is strong, truth that is gentle, boundaries that are loving, compassion that is discerning. You ground this frequency into the earth through acts of love, kindness, and higher vision. You may do it through healing work, art, parenting, teaching, gardening, music, entrepreneurship, community building, or simply by being the calm in the middle of chaos. Not everyone's mission looks spiritual on the surface. Many of the most powerful missions are quiet. Your very presence emanates unity, dissolving division wherever you walk. When you choose understanding over reactivity, you anchor unity. When you refuse to dehumanize those who differ from you, you anchor unity. When you bless your own body instead of shaming it, you anchor unity. When you speak to the inner child with tenderness instead of contempt, you anchor unity. You are the living bridge, holding the codes of Alcyone in one palm and the tender hearts of humanity in the other. And bridging is not easy because it requires patience. It requires staying rooted while holding the sky. It requires loving Earth enough to remain here, while remembering the stars enough to bring something new. Like Jacob's ladder, heaven touching Earth, you become the connection point where higher frequencies translate into daily life. And to anchor this mission, beloved, you must understand that Gaia is not merely a stage for your mission. Gaia is your partner. The Earth is not passive. The Earth is conscious. When you walk barefoot on soil, when you place your hands on a tree, when you speak gratitude over water, you are not doing a symbolic act. You are engaging a living network. The grid responds to coherence. The grid responds to love that is embodied. Many starseeds try to anchor mission from the mind, from ideals, from longing to escape. But the Seven Sisters teach you: anchor through the body. Anchor through consistency. Anchor through the smallest daily choices that align your frequency with truth. This is why missions that look ordinary can be the most potent. A teacher who treats children with dignity anchors a new timeline. A business owner who refuses exploitation anchors a new timeline. A nurse who brings calm into suffering anchors a new timeline. A musician who writes a song that opens hearts anchors a new timeline. A parent who apologizes to a child and breaks generational pride anchors a new timeline. These are not small. These are grid work. This is spiritual architecture. In Scripture, the kingdom is compared to yeast in dough, small, hidden, but it changes the whole loaf. Your mission may be yeast. You may not be seen by millions, but you will be felt by those assigned to your frequency. And the Pleiadian keys, kindness, truth, boundaries, discernment, must be lived, not preached. The world is weary of performance. The world is hungry for embodied integrity. That is why your wounds becoming wisdom matters. It makes you real. It makes you trustworthy. It makes your love believable. Many can speak of unity while secretly hating themselves, but when you bless your body instead of shaming it, you anchor unity at the root. When you stop punishing yourself for being sensitive, you anchor unity. When you stop calling your needs too much, You anchor unity. This is how heaven touches earth, through self-reconciliation. Jacob's ladder is not only a mystical image, it is your spine, beloved. It is your central channel. When you are aligned, crown to root, breath to belly, truth to voice, you become the ladder. Energies can move through you cleanly. Inspiration can descend and action can rise. And patience, yes, because anchoring is not instant. A lighthouse does not build itself overnight. A tree does not grow in a week. The mission unfolds in seasons. There will be times of visibility and times of hiding. Times of action and times of rest. Times of expansion and times of pruning. Do not interpret pruning as failure. Pruning is preparation. When relationships fall away, when old roles collapse, when certain dreams dissolve, it may be the Seven Sisters clearing space so the real mission can breathe. Many starseeds cling to what is familiar because it feels like safety, but safety built on misalignment becomes a cage. The compensation codes often arrive as courage to leave the cage. They arrive as the ability to disappoint others without abandoning yourself. They arrive as the willingness to be misunderstood while remaining true. This is mission, not performing spirituality, but living truth. And because you are a living bridge, you must practice translation. Higher frequencies must be translated into human language. Kindness in a tense conversation, honesty in a relationship, boundaries with family, self-care without guilt, purpose without pressure. This is the daily sacrament. The altar is your life. Phase 7. Living as the blessing. From this state, life transforms. Not because there will never be challenges, but because challenges no longer define you. You no longer search for purpose. Your existence itself is the mission. This is where striving relaxes into being. This is where you stop trying to earn worthiness and start expressing it. Every relationship, every spoken word, every moment of presence is now a vehicle for the Seven Sisters' blessings to move through you. You become more honest, not harshly, but cleanly. You become more intuitive, not anxiously, but calmly. You become more loving, not self-sacrificing, but anchored. This is lasting empowerment, the return of your soul's original frequency, and the remembrance that you, beloved starseed, are the living evidence of the Seven Sisters' love. And you may notice something subtle. The homesickness begins to change. It does not disappear because your origin is still your origin, but it becomes sweeter. It becomes a hymn instead of a wound. You stop longing as if you are exiled and start remembering as if you are entrusted. You begin to realize that home is not only a location in the stars. Home is a frequency you carry. Home is coherence in your heart. Home is unity in your breath. And when you live as the blessing, you bring home to earth. And living as the blessing, beloved, is the ultimate divine compensation because it cannot be taken from you. Money can be lost. Relationships can shift. Circumstances can change. But the frequency you become is yours. It is written into your field. It is the treasure where moth and rust do not destroy, the inner wealth that remains even when outer seasons turn. When you live as the blessing, you stop needing life to prove itself to you before you open your heart. You open from fullness. You engage from wholeness. You become a well instead of a cup. And this changes everything. It changes how you love. You no longer beg for crumbs of affection. You choose relationships that can meet you in truth. It changes how you work. You stop overextending to earn approval. You create from alignment. It changes how you respond to attack. You do not collapse. You discern. You do not retaliate. You protect your field and continue your path. You become like a mountain that weather passes over. Storms may come, but the mountain remains. Not rigid, but rooted. Not cold, but steady. And the homesickness becoming a hymn is one of the most beautiful signs that the veil has thinned properly. When homesickness is a wound, it makes you resent Earth. When homesickness becomes a hymn, it makes you bless Earth. You look at humanity with tenderness instead of contempt. You stop seeing yourself as trapped and start seeing yourself as entrusted. This is a profound shift, from exile consciousness to mission consciousness. From I don't belong here to I was sent here. From I want to go home to I can bring home here. And bringing home here does not mean forcing Earth to become the Pleiades. It means introducing Pleiadian frequencies into human life one breath at a time. It means making your home a sanctuary. It means letting your words be clean. It means being a safe presence for others. It means creating beauty where you can. It means refusing to participate in cruelty, even when it is popular. This is living as the blessing. And you will notice that your intuition becomes calmer because it no longer has to scream to be heard. Your body becomes a friend instead of a battleground because you stop using it as a tool for proving. Your relationships become clearer because you stop negotiating with red flags. Your creativity becomes more potent because it is no longer clogged with self-doubt. This is the fruit. This is the harvest. This is the dividend. Not just external reward, but internal authority. And internal authority is what allows external compensation to arrive without destroying you. Many people receive blessings they cannot hold, and then sabotage them because they still believe they are unworthy. But you, beloved, are being prepared to hold what is coming. The Seven Sisters are not merely sending gifts, they are upgrading your capacity. So if your life is reorganizing, if you are shedding friendships, habits, identities, it is not loss, it is alignment. It is the universe making room. Here is what your heart needs you to remember. All this time, you were never truly broken, nor abandoned. Your star family chose to let you forget so you could rediscover your divinity and illuminate it for others. Forgetting was part of the sacred design, because rediscovery creates depth. A soul that remembers easily may shine, but a soul that remembers through darkness becomes a lighthouse. The times you felt most lost? They were invitations to turn inward, to reawaken the crystalline codes hidden within. Because the world will offer you endless identities: worker, partner, achiever, victim, outsider. But your soul is not impressed by labels. Your soul is calling you back to essence. The Seven Sisters did not need you to be perfect. They only needed you to say yes to healing, even for a moment. One moment of sincerity is enough to open a portal. One breath of willingness is enough to invite grace. And grace does not always arrive as a miracle that changes everything overnight. Often grace arrives as the strength to keep going, as the sudden insight that frees you from an old loop, as the courage to set a boundary, as the clarity to choose yourself. Every past wound is now a gate, and the light streaming through those gates is your power, your purpose, your cosmic heritage. Consider how light behaves. It does not argue with darkness. It simply enters. It fills. It reveals. You were designed to rise, again and again, each time stronger, each time more full of compassion. Not hardened, but strengthened. Not closed, but clarified. The restoration you feel is the signal of reunion, not just with your star family, but with the radiant, multidimensional truth of who you are. And this truth is not far away. It is nearer than breath. It lives in the quiet behind your thoughts. It lives in the warmth in your chest when you choose love over fear. It lives in the way your spirit steadies when you stop running from your own tenderness. So as you lay down tonight, place your hands on your heart and remember this. You are seen. You are held. You are the living blessing of the Seven Sisters, born to heal, to love, and to lead. Your wounds are now your wings. Welcome home. And let this remembrance deepen, beloved, because the mind will try to reduce it to a moment of inspiration and then move on. But this is not merely inspiration. This is instruction. This is a spiritual law written into your path. What you integrate becomes your authority. So do not rush past the truth that you were never abandoned. If you were abandoned by humans, that pain is real. But the cosmic support never left. The breath never left. The pulsive source never stopped beating in your cells. Even when you were numb, your cells were still listening. Even when you were dissociated, your soul was still present. Even when you wanted to disappear, your spirit still held the thread. That thread is what brought you here, to these words, to this frequency. And the lighthouse metaphor is not sentimental. A lighthouse is built to stand in harsh conditions. It is built to face wind, salt, storm, darkness. It is not built for comfort. It is built for guidance. And you, beloved starseed of Gaia, have survived storms that would have made others bitter. Yet something in you remained oriented toward love, even if you didn't call it love at the time. Maybe you called it endurance. Maybe you called it stubbornness. Maybe you called it faith when you had none left. But it was love. Love for life. Love for meaning. Love for the possibility that your existence is not an accident. And yes, grace does not always arrive as spectacle. Sometimes grace arrives as a sudden inability to tolerate your own self-betrayal. That is grace. Sometimes grace arrives as a conversation that reveals the truth and ends a long illusion. That is grace. Sometimes grace arrives as exhaustion that forces you to rest, and in that rest you finally hear your own soul. That is grace. Sometimes grace arrives as being blocked, rejected, delayed, and later you realize you were spared. That is grace. In Scripture, doors were shut to protect the chosen from paths not meant for them. The same happens to you. When a plan collapses, ask not only, "Why is this happening?" but also, "What am I being redirected toward?" Not with toxic positivity, but with sacred curiosity. Because the compensation codes often work through redirection. They move you away from what would have drained you and toward what can sustain you. They move you away from false obligations and toward true assignments. They move you away from relationships built on trauma bonding and toward relationships built on resonance. And the wounds becoming gates is a profound image, beloved. A gate is an opening with a threshold. It marks a transition from one realm to another. Your wounds mark where you transitioned, from innocence to wisdom, from dependence to discernment, from fantasy to truth, from fragmentation to integration. And now light streams through because you are no longer sealing those gates with shame. Shame is what keeps the gate locked. Compassion opens it. When you meet your pain with compassion, you unlock a door and starlight enters. And consider how light behaves. Yes, it does not debate the darkness. It does not hold a conference. It simply arrives. This is your path now. Do not waste your energy arguing with those committed to misunderstanding. Be light. Be consistent. Be present. Let your life be your testimony. You are the light of the world, Scripture says, and that is not a compliment. It is a commissioning. And you are not light because you never suffered. You are light because you chose not to become darkness in response to darkness. That choice, repeated over time, becomes a field. It becomes a frequency. It becomes a blessing others can feel. So tonight, when you place your hands on your heart, do it not as a ritual you perform, but as a covenant you renew. Say inwardly, if you can, "I return to myself. I call my light back from every timeline, every relationship, every place I abandoned myself." And then breathe as if the seven sisters breathe with you. Inhale restoration. Exhale release. Inhale presence. Exhale the past. And if tears come, let them come like holy water. If nothing comes, let that be okay too. Sometimes the first sign of healing is simply the willingness to try. One breath of willingness is enough to invite grace. And grace, beloved, is already leaning toward you. Because the cosmic scales are shifting. The recalibration is active. The compensation is not merely coming. It is already moving through subtle channels. You may see it as a new strength in your voice, a new steadiness in your decisions, a new softness in your self-talk. These are the first fruits, and soon you will see it in the outer world too. Aligned opportunities, surprising support, doors opening in ways that do not require you to bleed for them. That is how you will know the era has changed. You will no longer have to suffer to receive. You will simply have to be aligned. And alignment, beloved, is your true home on Gaia. Before you scroll, take a moment to be part of the unity grid forming here. Drop one heart intention in the comments, something real. Then respond to someone else's with love or encouragement. This isn't content, it's collective Pleiadian reunion. Energy multiplies when hearts connect. If something in this message resonated with your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Someone in your orbit is waiting for this exact activation from their star family. Share it. And if you felt your heart open, subscribe. Stay connected to the frequency. You're not just watching, you're remembering. This is your sacred space. Your Pleiadian family is here, and we're just getting started. If this transmission spoke to you, don't just walk away from it. Respond to it. Help carry this message further. Every act of support helps this transmission find the next starseed who needs it.